Welcome back to On the Nose, a podcast where we look back on the goings-on in terms of wins and losses at the two main domestic thoroughbred meetings on a Saturday. Once again, I'm joined in studio by Thad Taylor. Thad, welcome along again, mate.
Paul, pleasure to be here as always.
So last week, we were down here at Trentham and up at Ellerslie for the final time before the new season.
Yeah, track revamp time up at Ellerslie, so that'll be good. It's performed particularly well of recent times. And then Trentham was good old Trentham. Tough day, although customers didn't do too badly at Trentham. In fairness, it was a testing day, but there were some decent results there for customers.
One or two steeple chase day at Trentham.
Yeah, exactly, and hurdles as well. So that's always interesting, and we might have a jumping star on our hands when we get to race number 5.
Well, let's start at race 1, and well, here we go. It's the time of the year where we see Mr. Myers and his stable really start to shine, and they got the day off started very, very nicely for favourite punters, with YOLO getting home in the first.
Yeah, always tricky for customers to take an odds-on favourite and a maiden hurdle on a heavy 10 at Trentham, and saying that YOLO was $2 into $1.70, and that probably put some people off that didn't want to. You could use the odd surge, I guess, but I mean, the turnover was relatively light, which meant even though YOLO is pretty much the only runner they backed, 2 into $1.70, it was only minus 3,000 or 4,000 for YOLO. All in Blackberry was making hurdle debut, $3.88 to $6 and ran last. So that was of note. Countryman ran in the money, and it was 18 into 14. It was minus 40,000 Countryman. That was the only other runner they really had a crack at, and it ran reasonably well. And Jerry Coop was on hurdles debut as well, and it made a promising debut. So all in all, YOLO was minus 4,000 in the first of the day.
So not as bad as it could have been.
No, just race 1, odds-on favourite and a maiden hurdle on a heavy track. Everyone was like, oh, I don't know. And then by the time it jumped, it romped away, and the $1.70 looked good value, as they always do after they've crossed the line.
Race 2, a maiden hurdles over the 2,500 metres, and Chrissy Bambury. It's St. Bernard home, although there were a few nervous moments post-race.
Protest in the hurdle. You don't see it every day. I don't think you could have taken it off St. Bernard, and to be perfectly honest, but Who's Fabulous did run a good race. It was closing late, but I don't know. Leave that to the stewards. Anyway, what I can say, it was very strange that St. Bernard drifted from $2.20 out to $4.60. He was backed off the map at Te Rapa and disappointed. So that obviously knocked everyone's confidence around St. Bernard. And for that reason, he was easy. Out to $4.60, as I say, off an opening quote at $2.20. Dummy again here, $3.70 into $2.30 on So Call Me, which didn't run badly. Two movers who were making hurdles debuts. Mean Deal was 15 into $5.50, wasn't miles away, but wasn't, maybe one to mark down because it was supporting Who's Sam as well. Right down the bottom of the book, there was a mover and ran well on debut for, I think, 4th. So, they came for the Dummy Myers runner this time, and the horse that they came for last time at Te Rapa was the one that saluted, but this time it was $2.20 out to $4.60 plus 15,000. It's a cruel game at times, Paul.
Sometimes it pays to stick even after a disappointing run.
Exactly. Yep.
Race 3, another hurdles race over the 2,500 metres. In fact, it was the Manawa 2 hurdles with Billy Boy. Yeah,
good win, Billy Boy. Dummy had 4 on the race, and they were all a bit quiet. Even very flash, who was $2.80 up to $3.40, which meant we were sort of only left with Billy Boy, who didn't sort of budge from around $3.60, never looked back. I think fell on the race, but was 6 into $4.20. And then West Coast, the steeplechaser, was 23 into 9, and actually the worst result in the race. But I think they just got along a bit quick for him. I hope he's okay. I haven't read this. I have read the stops report to a degree, but I've missed the West Coast thing. So I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he just more race fairly. He needs the bigger fences than for them to go a little bit slower. But because there wasn't a lot of money for the Kevin Myers runners, it sort of only left them with Billy Boy and never looked back. So it was plus 10,000. Billy Boy, even though it was the second favourite.
Race 4, they got rid of the sticks, and it was down the chute over the 1,200 metres, and Curtis Pertab with Luminance at around, just over $3?
Yeah, it wasn't $3 when we opened.
No. No.
$12. $12. It was 15 prior to scratchings, but a couple of scratchings made it around roughly $12 opening price into $3.20. And this was down to the drift around the Lisa ladder runners, really. Alcaraz was $3 out to $5 and friendless and good crack. Even though it was relatively well backed, also eased 4 out to $5.50. There were a couple that shortened up as well. Rio Mosa, 21 into 9. Tolstoy was resuming. It was 12 into $7. But yeah, the marketplace well and truly got us, but there were a few that they backed, which meant it was only minus 15,000 Luminance. The move came early, then came in the middle, and then came late, but no one will quite, it wasn't a concerted push, but it doesn't look great on paper, minus 15,000 Luminance.
Race 5 was the Manawatu Steeplechase, and Sean and Hazel Fannin with the hot favourite Jesco doing the business and doing it with a fair amount of ease, although Al's Red Z it wasn't the worst.
No, he's tough, Al's Red Z. Yeah, he was always going to give it a race. I guess the story of this race, well, one, it's Jesco looks an up-and-coming star. It was just no money for the second favourite, Obrigado, which was Kevin Myers, and he had 4 in the race. So much so that there was more money, dollars invested on Call Me Jack, which was out there at around $13 than Obrigado, which made Jesco look even more attractive, you would have thought. So that only left, if you took those 4 dummy Myers runners out, it only really left Al's Red Z as the only potential challenger, and he was 11 into 9 and ran a good race. But Jesco, if you've got an Atlante horse, early on in its life as a 2 or 3 year old, you'd be thinking, hopefully you can get a good mile. This could be good Guineas races, Atlantes, and then to go on and it's by Atlante to win a Manawatu Steeple and look to be a next jumping star is quite exciting. I think it's with the Frat Club now, minus 15,000 Jesco. Going to be excited to see where he goes.
Race 6, over the mile it's a benchmark 65, and well, this one saved the bookies, didn't it? Subtleties at around 30s.
Yeah, we're up and down a wee bit at Trentham, to be fair, all day, but no one sort of saw this coming. In saying that, it was 41 out to 61, back to 31 late, so just a little bit of something, but the damage was well and truly done. They backed plenty. There was a wide open race. I'll mention 2 movers here. Kopari, Curtis Pertab. It didn't run the greatest of races, but was 21 into 12. To be fair, anything Curtis saddled up down there was moving at Trentham. And the interesting one for me was Down Trail, number 18 in the book. It was a mover first up and ran last. And then it was a mover again, 41 into 9. And was a fraction unlucky. Was getting laid all over by Trevor Bow there, and hell of a return, the Gary Vile runner. Poor old Trevor wouldn't get off it up the straight. And Mariana Hudson sort of just never really got to fully extend it in the last couple of 100 metres. So even though it's got 2 zeros next to its name and now sort of a 7th, one to mark down, Down Trail. I think there must be something there for the market to move both times, but subtleties, everyone missed it, plus 40.
Race 7, a benchmark 75, over the mile again, and Kevin Myers, he gets a second winner on the day. Bozo at around 340.
Yeah, never sort of budged. Just well backed all day, Bozo. The marketplace got the spot on, to be fair. Wheelerton was 12 into 950 after that impressive resuming run. And it ran a gallant second, and was it a gallant second or a gallant third, one or the other? And the other one was Diomedes, who was 9 into 6, and that ran in the money. They're the 2 place getters. What order they were in, I can't remember. But they both shortened. They both ran in the money. Bozo was tough. She was tough in the end, got the job done, minus 15,000. Ride the Tide wasn't too far away from them. It was 21 into 12, back to 16. But as I say, the marketplace nailed the 7th. It was Bozo that won, minus 15,000.
Final race of the day at Trentham, a benchmark 75 over 1,300 metres, and Matthew Eels with Leah Hemi aboard gets Soteria home in front of the Alan Sharrock runner.
Yeah.
And it was the favourite too, was it?
Tissay. Yeah.
Well, Soterio won.
That's a good point. Let's go back to that, because we can say Soterio. messy race, mess of a market. And I say that because we had some really significant scratchings. And at this time of year, and the market takes a long time to find itself when it's been shaken up like that at times. I mean, Be Enchanted was a shortener. They backed Hokitika Bell, who was gone at the top of the straight after, looming into it and then suddenly gone. Tease for Alan Sherrick was steadily backed without being heavily backed. So I like to see Alan's runners heavily backed, generally speaking. And the other one that I need to mention was Peppery, who ran a really good race first up. It was right in the money, was going to be right, and was all the way down the straight. Soterio managed to wear it down. Money was spread everywhere. Marketplace was all over the show. We managed to creep out, even though Soterio was very short. It was 340 after scratchings, out to 550 plus 20,000.
So what'd you say overall for Trentham on Saturday?
Well, we're up, down, and then Subtleties was plus 40,000 in that race.
That was the difference.
That was we were basically zero. Then we were plus 40 with Subtleties. So it was about 40,000 at Trentham.
Let's move up north to Ellerslie, and race one was a benchmark 75 over 1,100 metres. Pukuru Gold, who was second favourite behind Judicial.
Yep, second favourite, and to be fair, one that didn't drift of interest, so it just held its ground, and it was the only one that did manage to do that was Pukuru Gold, sitting at around 350. Obviously, the story of the race is Judicial, first up, trialled like a bomb, and then. Yeah, look, I mean, just Vinny couldn't quite get it to come back after he jumped and led relatively easily. Couldn't get him to come back, and I mean, I'm not a jockey. Just take one look at me. But I wonder if in hindsight maybe we tried to go a little bit too slow, and then the sprint went on, and I don't know. Easy to say now, but probably just a fraction disappointing at the end of the day was Pukuru Gold. Reward Smile was easy. Everything else was easy in this race, bar Pukuru Gold, and obviously Judicial was 3 into 210, and we were minus 80,000 there. And for that reason, we were plus 45 on Pukuru Gold.
Ooh, a lot of support for the favourite. Righty, I think we've learnt the lesson. Don't jump off next time.
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're probably right. You're very Judicial. Oh, no, he'll keep, no doubt.
Race two for the 2-year-olds, over 1,200 metres, and Tony Pike, Tristan Moodley, Boombox at around 7. So a little bit more for the bookies?
Yes, there is, because they all back the horse with race day experience in the 2-year-old race.
Pacific Breeze?
Exactly, mate. Yeah. To run in a size produce, it had had some good form around some good horses. And then this race was full of first starters, and then no one really knew what they were doing. I mean, Tony Pike had 3 in the race, Stephen Marsh had 2, Cody Cole had 1, and they were all around a similar price. In saying that, of the Pikey 3, it was Boombox that moved late. So Boombox was actually ranked 3rd of the 3 by the price setters, out at $10. Happy Yumzane was 9, and Ashoka was $6.50. Boombox started 10 into 7, Happy Yumzane 9 out to 15, and Ashoka never budged in its price. So look, Pacific Breeze was minus 80,000, which meant Boombox, even though it was a late move, and we talk about the late moves, it was plus 40,000.
Okay. On to race 3. It was a maiden over 1,200 metres. And Warren and Barbara Kennedy get the job done with Vienny Sue.
Yeah.
Around, what was it?
$18. Yeah, a bit shorter on totes, which actually meant it was, when you generally see that, it's it'll be quite well backed with us, and it was. Kennedy, Narkley, it's got a bit going for it as far as the customer base is concerned, and it was break even, and that's all. Vienny Sue, even though it was 15 out to 18, but this race was wide open. Hakushu was a drifting favourite, fell into 4th. Delza Beale actually started favourite for Tony Pike, and Kelly Myers took her medicine, actually went back to last. It was a big run, Delza Beale.
Sure was.
Yeah, I'd be marking that down, even though, it's run a second and now I think a 4th. And Classic Champagne was the other one. Just want to mark that down, Classic Champagne. It was a black booker first up at Mudda, and then it was running on again when the sort of race was all over, had to sort of check back inside, and just was doing its best work through the line, Classic Champagne. I think there's a bit about it. It was 13 into 10. It was the second worst result in the race. So Dells of Beal and Classic Champagne look to be the two to take out of the third.
Race 4, a benchmark 65 over 1,600 metres. And, nice little combo here. Stephen Marsh, Craig Grills, Ellerslie at 550.
Moved the start prior, moved again, but moved early. Moved early this time. It was 950 into 550 and pretty much didn't budge off that quote. It was a loss. It was about minus $5,000 for Ellerslie. Churn Nibble was 9 into 4. That was the big move.
That was a huge move.
Yeah, had its chance too, in fairness. And was minus 70,000 in the late move. The late move was Hot Salsa, who got sort of 3 back on the inside and then sort of came up the inside. Might be one to mark down on the wet tracks, Hot Salsa, because there was good market support. It was minus 40,000, but the winner, Ellerslie, minus 5.
Race 5 was over the 2,100 metres, and did Tiako do us a favour here by beating the favourite, the Precursor? War of Succession, successful.
Yeah, it was. We opened them both at $4. In fairness, $4 was too high for both. But it was certainly the early move was Precursor, $4 into $2.90. Then I think it was $2.50 on Saturday morning. Back to $3.30 late. Now it was the worst result in the race by quite some way. But then War of Succession was $4 out to $4.80, then back to $3.50. So they almost started joint favourites again and just under their opening quote. So, but because of all the money for the Precursor, War of Succession was plus 15,000. Viztown sort of took the Precursor on there a little bit, trying to make excuses for my bet of the day. I have to do that every week, sadly. And Barcelona was a mover, just telling you, 26 into 12, back to 17 for Barcelona. It was a mover, but War of Succession was the late market push, but it was plus 15.
Race 6 was a 2,100 metre event, open handicap, and they found one here, didn't they?
Yeah.
The punters got this one right, major, $4.50, but didn't open at around that mark.
No, I think it was $8 major, into $4.50. And I think favourite in the race in the end, it was minus 50,000. They nailed this race. Ended up trailing Khan Hunter. Great ride. It's Kelly, isn't it?
Yeah. Kelly Myers, yep.
She's going well at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
She's making hay up there. And, she just gave it the perfect run up the rail. She took the rail when Khan Hunter sort of eased off. Minus 50,000. Couldn't have been much easier. Bosch was 13 into $9. Roderer was one of the only horses to make ground from the back in this race. That was quite a run from Roderer, 9 into 750. It's a little bit hit and miss, but it was a good run, and there was money for it, 9 into 750 Roderer. And Diamond Jack was detached at the back. I'm trying to steal Brendan Poppl's thunder, potentially. When he gets the right race, Diamond Jack, in the middle of depths of winter, he'll be competitive in any staying event on a heavy track. But, yeah, customers nailed it, minus 50 major.
Race 7 for the 3-year-olds over 1,400 metres, and Moxie around $17 Surely the bookie's got a wee bit back here.
Yeah, he was forgotten after that last start at Tirapa, Moxie. But yeah, if you were willing to forgive and say he's back at Tirapa where he broke maidens in very similar fashion, in fairness, yes, you could have maybe entertained him. But it was such a competitive 3-year-old race with so many talented looking types. The early move came for Archipelago, and then the late move came for Britannia Gold, as it did the start before. So they were those favourites were well backed. Thusa had plenty of support. It was around 11 into 7. That was minus 120,000. Bellarista was 17 into 10. Even Starscream for Cody Cole was 61 into 26. So, with all that movement, you can see how they missed Moxie to a degree, 14 out to 17. Britannia Gold, Pelago ran well. It was a good effort, raced up on speed. Britannia Gold, look, I don't know if the marketplace will come again. It's had 2 chances now, and has failed to get over the line. I think she's pretty talented, but wasn't to be anyway. Plus 50 Moxie.
Race 8, benchmark 65 over 1,200 metres, and Beneath the Stars at around $11 gets home, and another one for the bookies maybe?
Well, except if you go to the ownership group, you'll see the names of G and M Simon in there, amongst others. It's a horse that's quite well backed Beneath the Stars, or has been, in a short career. But, obviously, and it's a winner of 2 from 3 now. So you can understand why it would have had support. And it was always hovering around sort of $10 or $11. Got out to 14 and ended up in at 11. So it was only plus 5,000 for Beneath the Stars. Another wide open affair. I mean, Part-Time Lover was good again. Fancy Pants was good. The movement was Pippi Road, 17 into $12. Didn't run too badly for the Clotworthy team. I think it's a former Aussie, Pippi Road. And highly anticipated for Warren and Barbara again. He got the job done on Viennese Sue. And they were all saying, he's going to earn himself a steak. Going to be looked after. Not steak dinner for Warren tonight at home. He's going to ride in the wife's horse home, but she might have been making it a well-done one after his ride on Highly Anticipated. He got chat 3 wide, and actually Highly Anticipated boxed on really well, 14 into 950. After match led them up. There was no money for it. It was the first up in New Zealand after match, and faded badly late and finished 4th. Thought it was going to run in the money all day, but maybe when there is money for after match, you'd be sitting up and paying attention. But Beneath the Stars, relatively well supported, plus 5.
I think Warren mentioned it might be takeaways that night.
Takeaways.
Because they were going to be getting home so late after the final race.
Yeah. Half a scoop of chips, that was it now, after Highly Anticipated.
You wouldn't know what half a scoop looked like. Neither would I.
Make a good point.
Race 9, it was over the 1,400 metres, open handicap, and Simon and Katrina Alexander pick up another winner. Kelly Myers picks up another winner with Midnight Scandal.
Yeah, and she led them up, Kelly. It was always going to be up on the speed, Midnight Scandal. Sort of up and grey, but it's competed in a Group 3 open at Hawke's Bay. It's obviously pretty progressive, but still eligible for 75, but down in weight, up in grade, pace influence, and got to the front, I say relatively easily. There was a bit of a contest early on with a few, but got there relatively easily, and then she sort of controlled it to a degree. There were 2 horses they backed, and they both were disappointing. That's the only thing you can say about it. That was Bourbon Empress, 7 into 320. She went for the up to from barrier 2 to go onto the speed, and then there were 4 or 5 of them up there and tried to pull back, and then ended up sort of getting checked back to 3 pairs back, and then over raced slightly, was second up. I mean, you're going to forgive a good horse like this because we know the quality of the ritual winner, but faded late like it did first up. 7 into 320. Sterling Express didn't fire. Had a good enough run to run on, but 480 into 370. Nothing in the Stipes report about it, so don't know what the story is there with Sterling Express. And Spencer went completely the other way, $4.40 out to $14. Just don't think it was Spencer's race, and the marketplace reflected that. He raced up on speed and sort of just gave it away in the last couple of hundred. But Midnight Scandal looks progressive, in for a big winter one, would think. 9 out to 12, back to 11, but it was plus 75 with all the money for the 2 favourites.
Final race of the day. It's a benchmark 65 over 1,600 metres, and Wexford with Craig Grills, Peerless at $5.50. Surely punters get a wee bit back in the get-out stakes.
They do. Good recipe, that one, Paulie, isn't it? And it was the only horse that sort of in that each way bracket that held its price. $5.50, didn't really budge Peerless, and everything else was easy around it. There were 2 movers, Hero of War, Warren again, 14 into 6, back to 10. Superfly, and it was 14 into $6. Big push, Superfly. Wasn't not too bad. And Family Folks for the Carters was 31 into 16. All 3 of those not too bad without setting the world on fire. Peerless $5.50, never budged, but because of the Grills, O'Sullivan, Scott, minus 40,000 in the last.
So overall, it sounds like the bookies were in front for the day at Ellerslie.
Yes, we were. Generally due to 3 results. Pakuru Gold was one of them. Moxie was the other. And then obviously Midnight Scandal beating those 2 favourites. Those 3 results sort of set the day up to be plus 140,000 at Ellerslie for the TAB.
Well, tough weekend domestically for punters. But every now and then the bookies get it right.
Yeah, exactly right. And the results just fall the wrong way. I mean, quite often, you're backed into a corner, your judicials win when they, do the right thing and everyone's away and it can be a totally different day. But yeah, just one of those things. I mean, we've sat here often enough here and talked about losing results and races and meetings. and days for the TAB. So, I mean, it's not that it doesn't happen, but yeah, it wasn't huge at Trentham. It was customers were relatively well on side, but yeah, Ellerslie were a little bit tougher. But a solid without being spectacular day for the TAB.
Right, don't forget to check Thad out on his On the Nose Follow the Money edition, where he will identify 1, 2, sometimes even 3 runners for you to keep an eye on, ones that have been well backed in the market and then maybe just didn't have everything go right for them on race day.
Exactly right. Yep, that's the ones we're looking for. Market support and ran well without that modicum of luck to see them win the race, and ones to follow. So they're what we're looking for, Paulie.
Rightio, that's it for another edition of On the Nose. We'll be back next week. See you then.